Welcome back. Now let's start with the guided practice session on nested if. Fine. So in the video session I would have discussed about the various decision making constructs but I would have only given you an example of just a simple if. I would have also told that you can go for using multiple if and else statement, and that is called as nested if. So in this guided practice session, I will be giving you an example of how to use this nested if and what kinds of syntax and braces you have to be careful enough so that you don't get any error. Fine. So I don't wish to execute my program on the R console directly. So what I'm going to try to do is, we have seen this methodology, I'm going to create a new script. Okay, so I'm going inside the R editor. Why I'm going into it is, I would like to change my code in between here and there so that it will be easier for you to understand the nested if statement. Fine. Okay, so what is the scenario based on which I am going to give you this example? So in the simple if and else statement, we would have discussed about one example where we try to compare two numbers. Fine. So now here what I am going to do is, I am going to create three numbers. So I say first number, maybe I give some 345, and I say I create another number which is a second number, I say 456, then I say third number and I say I am going to have it as some 223 or something. Fine. So now I am creating three numbers. I need to give the output which will be the least among all the three, or I would say it is going to be, I have to find which is the smallest among all three. Fine. So obviously we have to go with the decision making construct. So I say if statement, and I start with if and I give the condition first. I say first underscore number is less than second underscore number, and I close my brace. I open a curly brace. Fine. So what I check? I'm checking if my first number is less than the second number. Suppose this particular statement, first underscore number less than second underscore number, becomes true. In that case, then what I have to check to find out whether first number is the least, I have to compare the first number with my third number, because already I have compared it with my second number. So what I will do, I will again go with one if statement inside, and I will check whether my first number, first underscore number, is less than the third underscore number. Yes, and I open a curly brace. So now this brace is for this if statement. This brace is for this if statement. Now you have, we call one if within another if. So this is an example of nested if. Fine. Yes. So now when first number is also lesser than the third number, then what does it mean? It means that my first number is the smallest among all three. Okay. So I have to print the message. I am saying first underscore number, comma, and I give the formatting statement is the smallest. Okay. Also I end with the escape sequence. So my this if is over. So this if is over. Fine. Yes. So now when this if is over, suppose this first number is not less than the third number. So this condition is becoming false. If that is becoming false, what does it mean? First number was lesser than the second, but first number is not lesser than the third. So what does it mean? It means that my third number is the smallest. Yes. So I say one else statement. We have seen how to start one else. At the end of this curly brace itself, you have to start the else. So this else is for this if. So I am starting at the end of this curly brace. Fine. And I say else here, and I open a curly brace, and I say my third number. Fine. So my third number is the smallest. Yes, I am saying third number is the smallest, and I go for closing the brace. Now this if has ended with this else. Yes. Now we had one if here. So there is one if statement here and one brace has been opened that is not closed. So for this if, now if this first number was lesser than this second number, only then it entered this to check. Fine. Now if suppose this outer loop, the outer if statement, instead of true, if second number is lesser than the first, then what it has to do? So you need to find out, right? Yes. So now what I have to do? So for this brace, this is closed. For this brace, here it is closed, but I have not closed this if. So after this, I am closing this loop, the main if loop. So for this if, I have to have one else. So I say else if. Why? Because I am going to check another condition. What I am going to check? I have to check, now since first number is less than second number has become false. What does it mean? It means that second number is lesser. So I obviously has to check whether second underscore number is lesser than the third underscore number. Yes. So I have opened one else for this and I have gone with if continuing with the else. So this I call it as else if ladder. Fine. So this is a nested if. This I call it as else if decision. Fine. Along with else you have one if. Fine. Yes. So now I say here open a brace. If this is true, what I have to say? I have to say that second underscore number is the smallest. Yes. Yes. So it's the smallest and I say slash n and I say that I am closing this brace. Now I had this else if and it started with one if. Now there should be one else, right? So I say else and I open a curly brace and I say again a cat and I say maybe check your input. Fine. Yes, and I say that I am going to close it. The entire stuff is closed. Now let us check whether the braces are closed. See here. So for this opening and closing brace is done. For this else if, this open and close is done. For this is the major if, which is open and close, open and close, open and close. Fine. So all the braces whichever we opened are closed. So the loop is over. Okay. So now let's execute this. So how do we execute? So you know that I am going to go for run all and I check out my answer. See here, you are getting the answer. 223 is the smallest. Let us check whether it is right. So how do I check? Now we have to check what is the input we had given there. So let me check that. So I say yes. So obviously 223 is lesser. Fine. Yes. Now we had seen this code saying one else if and then I have entered the code with this else. So in the other programming language, when you go with else if ladder, that has to end with else. But in case of our programming, that is not necessary. Suppose you don't want this else. Why I had entered this with else? Suppose you had some situation like that where you had to give that else part and get some output, you can include. In this case, it is not necessary. Actually speaking, it is not necessary. So I am just checking which is the smallest. So if you want to remove this else, you can very well remove it. Yes. So you can try again executing it. So if you want to check whether the recent code is executing, let me first clear the console here. Yes. So you now see the console is free and now I execute this. I say run all. See, you will get the same output which we got before. See, it is saying 223 is the smallest. It is not giving you any error. This you have to be careful. Fine. So see the recent code which is else if, it is ending with else if, it is not ending with else. So in case of our programming, even if you use a nested if or else if ladder, there is no necessity for you to have the else part. It is not mandatory. If you want, you can have. If you don't want, you can omit it. But you have to be very careful. When you give this else, you should give what at the end of the closing part of your if. Similarly, the else if also the same thing. If you go with the enter statement and then give else, you will get error. If you want to check the error, I can even show you an example of this error here. So see here. Now let's try. Now I say instead of this else here, I bring it in the next line. Now let's check whether I am getting the output or not. Okay, fine. Now I am, yes, see, you are getting the error. What it is saying? Unexpected else in else, because this else if has come to the next line. Yes, fine. So you would get error like this. Is it clear? Yes. So you should be very careful, and when you get this error, though you got an error, so you have got some output. It is saying 456 is the smallest. What does it mean? It means since this else if part had an error, it has omitted it, but it has tried to execute the code without these set of statements, and whatever it executed, that output you are getting. Fine. So this difference you have to understand. So in other programming languages, the error will be thrown and it will be stuck. But in case of programming in R, see, you are getting the output till which the code has executed, but it is also throwing an error. So this you have to have in mind with your decision making. Fine. Yes. So this is with your nested if and else if ladder in decision making. You can try out with some real-time examples whichever you are already aware of. Also, kindly practice the worksheet problems, and if you have any queries, you can post your queries on the discussion forum, or you can post your queries to my mail ID. I'll be happy to respond. Thank you.